So we got a question about how to do customer research when your customer base is hard to reach, either because they're not the type of people to respond very well to surveys, or maybe because they are literally hard to reach because they don't sit at a computer all day and they don't live in their inbox, and they're on the road all the time, or they're extremely busy and they don't sit for long periods of time at a desk, for example. And I would say that both scenarios are actually quite common, especially on the side of the house that has customers that don't respond well to research. And a lot of the time, the people that they're asking these questions are like, we've tried this type of research before. Response rates have been super low. It's been like pulling teeth. So, what do I do to, learn from our customers, all these things that are so critical for us to learn on how to improve and how to grow. So there's a couple of things to bear in mind as I sort of think through the best way to respond to this. And the first thing that comes to mind for me is don't forget segmentation. In other words, we're not trying to learn from all of your customers, right? Not all customers are created equally. We definitely want to surface and learn from those best customers, those customers who get a ton of value from our product today, who, you'd have to pry your product out of their cold, dead hands, so to speak, right? These are the customers that absolutely love you. So segmentation, those, the group of customers that you choose to learn from is very, very important and critical to the success, not only in reaching them, but also in the results, right? We don't want to be learning from customers who aren't that happy, or, maybe took more convincing to sign up, or, needed more help and support, or, we're harder to close overall. We want to learn from those customers who get a ton of value, understand the value that you provide, and understand what it's worth. So that will definitely help. Not all customers are created equally. We want to learn from the customers that you want more of, not just all of your customers. So definitely say that will help. The other thing is that these customers that are so successful with your product and get so much value from you today, they are genuinely invested in your success. They want you to be successful. So if your outreach is positioned in that way, right, that you want to deliver more value to them, you want to, be even more valuable to them than you are already, they're going to be all for that. They want you to win. They want you to continue delivering value to them. They don't want you to go anywhere. And they also would be so happy if you provided even more value. So I would also say and remind everybody that your best customers, especially those best customers, those ideal customers, they really, really want you to be successful. So just bear that in mind. The other thing that I would say is that the focus of the research that you're going to be doing is not like super wide in scope. It's not feature specific. It's not, what should we build next type of research even, right? It's very focused on them, their life, their problems, what's valuable to them, what they care about. Now, I say all that, and I recognize that what I just said was like, they're invested in your future and they want you to add more value. And that is all true. That doesn't mean that your research has to be, would you prefer we launch A, B, or C, right? You're asking them questions about, what was going on in your world, right? What is it about our product that helps you be successful? What was that moment? What did that moment look like for you? You're literally asking them to talk about themselves for the benefit of, the success overall of your relationship, of your product, and for them. So just bear in mind as well that the research is not, it might not be the same type of research you tried the first time around. And I would, sort of beg you to suspend disbelief that, hey, people really like to talk about themselves, versus getting a survey that's like, what should we do next? And, which one of how much does this feel like it's worth to you, and things like that, right? That's very focused on you and your product. But when the research is focused on them and hearing their stories and what's actually going on behind the scenes and digging into why they make the decisions that they make, it can be a lot, it can lower the barrier for responses. Okay, and then what else do I have on my list here? So, I guess the other thing is that they have a say, right? They can feel like they're contributing to the success of your company overall, and they have a say in the direction of the company, and that comes down to the outreach and how you frame your outreach to customers when you're like getting in touch with them and asking them for their input. And then the actual questions themselves, which I talked about already, which is very, very focused on them. So, they're helping you be successful. They have a say in the direction of the company. And truly, at the end of the day, what you're trying to learn from them is what's inside of them. What do they actually really care about, and how they feel? And then you get to do the wonderful work after the fact, right? To actually pull apart what it all means and figure out how to build a better product for them, and how to, grow and be more effective for them overall. The other parts to answer this question is really more focused on like the logistics of how you get it done. So like customers who are physically hard to reach, right? Those that don't sit at a desk all day, or maybe on the road, or, hard to sort of get in touch with. So there's a few ways generally that we recommend that surveys are run. The easy ones are, email. Email is our sort of go-to way to reach customers, especially those, customers who are working at a desk all day or are regularly in their inbox. SMS is also a really, really great option to get a survey in front of customers, especially if obviously you would have to already have their phone, but if their phone number, but if your product works with SMS already, then you have a huge advantage there. Then there's, of course, in-app, right? So you don't want to disrupt their experience when they're trying to get a task accomplished that will actually backfire. But if you could find a way to integrate it into your, your app, either your mobile or your web app, in a way that isn't too disruptive after they've finished a task, that can be really effective as well. And then another idea that could also work quite well, depending on your customers, is actual physical direct mail. So sending them something in the mail, some sort of, postcard or whatever that includes a QR code, so that you can collect responses from them. So now, interviews on the other side of things, right? So generally, if you've got a big enough customer base to work with, we generally recommend surveys preceding and qualifying for interviews. But in another scenario where you maybe don't have a few hundred or 1,000 customers, and we're talking more like in the dozens, then we are going to need to do direct outreach. And in that case, what I would say is absolutely do not do mass emails. One-on-one emails from somebody that this customer recognizes, a name that they recognize. The same is true, by the way, on the survey side. So making sure that surveys, if you're sending them by email or SMS, the sense of that goes without saying, but that the email is sent, or the message is sent from a name, maybe even a face that they already know. And the same is absolutely true on the interview side. Send a one-on-one. With surveys, you couldn't do this, but with interviews, you can absolutely send a personal email from your inbox to their inbox, not using any sort of mail delivery tool or EMS. So that's 100% what I would say for sure. You're going to get a much higher response rate if you're sending a plain text direct email. Now, another option that gets talked about a lot that we don't tend to incorporate that often, because we don't often need to, but sometimes it comes up: incentives. Incentives in some way can be really, really effective, but you have to tread carefully. A $50 Amazon gift card can be effective depending on your target customer, right? Depending on your customers. With some customers, it could incentivize the wrong folks. It could incentivize, people to respond to you, to your surveys and to your interview requests for the wrong reasons. So you got to be really careful with that type of incentive. what we have seen work quite well, especially for very busy people whose time is very valuable, whether or not they are service providers or executives, offering to compensate somebody for their time in exchange for a 20-minute or 30-minute call can go a long way. It shows them that you have a ton of respect for them, you have a ton of respect for their time, and that you're willing to put skin in the game. What generally we find is that the response rate tends to be very, very high, but very few people actually end up, following through and asking for that compensation. Some will, and that should be absolutely fine. But in general, we find that it brings the response rate up, and not all that many people actually ask to be compensated. Another idea that we absolutely love is offering to make a donation in their name. So this can go a long way, right? Especially for those that are maybe not motivated by being compensated in a sort of hourly way, right? So, but people who care about, feeling good and contributing and sort of paying it forward, you can offer to make a donation in their name to a charity of their choice, especially if it's something locally that can be really, really effective. So hopefully I've given you some reassurance, but also some ideas here on how you can get the highest response rate possible and really have and help your customers feel invested. We've got all kinds of tools and templates and outreach emails and stuff like that that you can use. And, I would just, obviously all customers are different and everybody needs something slightly different, but with our tools that we provide and also hopefully some of these ideas, hopefully you are feeling a lot better about your ability to not only reach out to customers, for this type of work, but also have a decent response rate and learn a ton, and maybe even build deeper relationships with your customers in the process. Obviously, at the end of the day, you're going to benefit massively from better understanding what matters to them, and so everybody wins. All right, with that, I will let you all go. Thanks. Bye.